Hello, this is Susan Woods, and thank you for your time. I am continuing with a series of videos that I developed to answer the question, why Black Lives Matter money is hard to follow. Why Black Lives Matter money is hard to follow. I've determined that there are 5 reasons. So this video is going to focus on reason number 2 of 5. Again, this video will focus on reason number 2 of 5. Five reasons Black Lives Matter money is hard to follow. Number 1, no structure. We've already talked about that. Number 2, no transparency. This is what we're focusing on today. 3, no accountability. 4, no consequences. And 5, no next steps. So these are the 5 reasons I've identified to explain why Black Lives Matter money is hard to follow. So reason number 2 of 5 is, again, no transparency. No transparency to allow the public to see what is going on behind the scenes. So we're going to explore that in this video. Again, these ladies are the 3 founders of the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, the Black Lives Matter slogan, the Black Lives Matter hashtag, and the blacklivesmatter.com website. They are the Black Lives Matter founders, from left to right, Patrice Khan-Coolers, Alicia Garza, and Opal Tomate. Patrice Khan-Coolers, Alicia Garza, and Opal Tomate are the 3 founding members of Black Lives Matter. I've already shared in the previous video about the about statement, but this is what this organization was about, and I'm referring to the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. This is what it was about in the early days when they first started, and this is still shown on the blacklivesmatter.com website. So I'm going to read it again because I want to tie it into the next slide that's coming up. So about Black Lives Matter was founded in 2013 in response to the acquittal of Trayvon Martin's murderer. Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation Incorporated is a global organization in the US, UK, and Canada, whose mission it is to eradicate white supremacy and build local power to intervene in violence inflicted on Black communities by the state and vigilantes. By combating and countering acts of violence, creating space for Black imagination and innovation, and centering Black joy, we are winning immediate improvements in our lives. Now, when you start an organization, the first thing you should do is identify a problem or identify problems that you want to solve. That is the first step. So when you start an organization, more than likely you've noticed something that's wrong in the community over a period of time that you want to solve, a problem. So when you look at this about statement, it was written clearly after the founders saw problems in their communities that they wanted to solve. For example, they saw that white supremacy existed. They saw violence being inflicted on black communities. So these are problems that they saw and they felt needed to be addressed. Okay. So when you sit down and you discuss problems that you want to solve, you want to write the problems down. And when you're starting a nonprofit organization or an organization or business or whatever it may be, you want to be clear on what you want to solve, what gaps you want to fill. So in 2015, and again, I'm using chronological order to present these videos. We're talking about 2015. The problems identified are or were white supremacy, violence against black people by the state and vigilantes, lack of space for black imagination and innovation. These are problems that the founders identified that they wanted to address. Okay, now once you list problems that you want to address, the next step is to create an action plan or create solutions. How are you going to solve the problems that you have identified? Now, when you create solutions, you should be able to list the parts of the solution plan that you will use to solve the problem. There's no need to list problems if you don't have a solution plan or if you don't intend to create a solution plan. So, what is the Black Lives Matter solution plan? Well, a solution plan should have these components: a vision, a mission, qualitative objectives, quantitative goals, program description, implementation plan, evaluation plan, sustainability plan, and transparent return on investment. These are the components of a very basic solution plan. I've been researching Black Lives Matter for over a year now, and I have not seen a solution plan like this that includes these components. What I've learned and what I believe is Black Lives Matter founders listed the problems that we just looked at a few minutes ago and just said, okay, let's just go protest. Let's make demands. With no vision, no mission, none of these things listed here. Let's just go protest. Let's get our Black Lives Matter signs and t-shirts and other paraphernalia. And let's just go out and protest and demand people to respect Black lives. That is bizarre. No one sat down and said, okay, the vision is going to be whatever it is, the mission, the objectives. What objectives? None of these things. So how can you go down to the very bottom and provide a transparent, because we're talking about no transparency, return on investment? How can you gauge a return on investment when you haven't implemented a plan, a solution? You're just marching. And some people will argue things are changing. Things are changing. They're not changing because of Black Lives Matter. They're changing because people are shamed and they feel guilty. They want to do something just to say, I've done it. Yes, I do believe the protesters drew attention to so many issues. And there are things that are happening for now. For now. But what about 5 years from now? If the Black Lives Matter founders were genuinely concerned about making a difference, they would have created a solution plan. And we don't see that. I don't see it. And I will welcome anybody to show it to me if it exists. So that's what disappoints me so much. because there's not anything concrete in writing to show us the path to success, to show us the path to helping ourselves, to solving our own problems. I don't see that through Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. So in 2016, again, instead of focusing on creating a solution plan, in 2016, the Black Lives Matter team started using ActBlue to process transactions and Thousand Currents to serve as its fiscal sponsor because Black Lives Matter did not have 501c3 nonprofit status. So around 2016 is when I guess the team finally decided that we need to formalize the way in which we process transactions or donations that people send to us. Now, from 2013 through 2015, I cannot find any documentation to show how they tracked donations. I don't know how they tracked donations because I cannot find that. But I did find that in 2016, they started using ActBlue. Now, ActBlue is just a conduit, a donation processing platform like a PayPal or other platforms that people use to process transactions. And then Thousand Currents is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that served as its fiscal sponsor. When you want to accept donations and tell people that their donations are tax deductible, you have to have a 501c3 designation that allows you to say that. Since Black Lives Matter didn't have one, they contracted with Thousand Currents to use its 501c3 designation to process transactions. So that's how that worked. So let's look at it in an attempt to follow the money in 2016. So again, when people would go to blacklivesmatter.com and click on donate, they would immediately be taken to the ActBlue platform. Now, it doesn't look like an ActBlue platform because ActBlue, the ActBlue team or designers or programmers, they make sure that their donation pages match their client's website. So it's kind of hard to know that you are not actually donating to Black Lives Matter, that you are actually donating through ActBlue to process the payment. You don't know that, okay? Unless you investigate, like I did when I clicked on it and I scrolled down to see exactly how the money flowed. Where did the money go? I wanted to follow the money. So I learned that ActBlue processes the transactions. And then ActBlue sends the money, the donations, to Thousand Currents, again, which is his fiscal sponsor. And then Thousand Currents sends the money back to Black Lives Matter to make grants or to award grants money to organizations trying to do things in the community. That's how it's supposed to flow. So let's look at it. Once again, ActBlue serves as a conduit to process transactions for Democrats, liberals, and other left-leaning organizations. They do not, they do not process transactions for conservatives or Republicans. They just make that perfectly clear on its website. These are our clients. We do not help other people. We do not process transactions for people who do not fit this profile. ActBlue also charges 3.95% on every donation. Every donation that flows through the ActBlue portal or platform is assessed $3.95%. Since 2006, ActBlue has generated over $8 trillion. Trillion with a T. So that lets you know how many people uses this platform to process transactions. You can go to actblue.com to learn more about the services it provides. Then you have Thousand Currents, like I mentioned. Thousand Currents served as a fiscal sponsor, allowing Black Lives Matter to use its 501c3 status to receive tax-deductible donations. And you notice I have the served past tense. Thousand Currents no longer serve as the fiscal sponsor. That relationship ended, and I will tell you more about that in future videos. And then finally, Black Lives Matter again. When Black Lives Matter needs money to provide money to organizations solving problems in the community, they have to go to Thousand Currents to request grant money. So if someone comes to Black Lives Matter, an organization says, ABC organization says, well, we need $10,000 to offer a garden or create a garden in the community or whatever, then Black Lives Matter, if they approve of that request, would then go back to Thousand Currents to say, hey, can we have some of our own money to disperse to this organization? That's how it works. And of course, Thousand Currents, Black Lives Matter has to pay Thousand Currents a fee for the services. It's not free. So this is how the process works. Now, where it gets fuzzy is, or unclear, is this last step. This is what we cannot determine. Where is the money going? How much money is coming in? We don't know. We don't know. Is Black Lives Matter dispersing money to the community? We don't know because we can't find the money. Okay, so let's move on. I thought it would be interesting to look at Thousand Currents, the Form 990 information return. Anytime you have a 501c3 nonprofit organization, you must submit the appropriate type of Form 990 information return every single year. If you miss reporting for 3 consecutive years, the IRS automatically revokes your 501c3 status. So since Black Lives Matter started using Thousand Currents in 2016, the 2017 Form 990 information return should show how much money this organization collected on behalf of Black Lives Matter, right? Once again, let me say that again. Since Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation started using Thousand Currents as its fiscal sponsor in 2017, in 2016, the transactions or the money that the Thousand Currents organization collected on behalf of Black Lives Matter in 2016 should be shown on this form, on the 2017 Form 990. So here it is. I downloaded a copy of it. This is open to public inspection. So anytime you want to see transactions from an organization, you can download the Form 990 for that organization. So here's Thousand Currents, where it's located and everything, and then the summary. We fund, connect, and walk alongside grassroots groups transforming their communities. That's the mission statement, okay? Here, and again, I just pulled certain parts of it. I think there were 59 pages to this Form 990. I just pulled out what I thought was relevant for this conversation. So this is a snapshot of the revenues and expenses. So contributions in 2017 was $6,596,734. Now, remember, Thousand Currents not only serves as the fiscal sponsor for Black Lives Matter, but for several organizations, primarily organizations that were overseas, international organizations. So I don't quite understand why Black Lives Matter chose Thousand Currents to serve as its fiscal sponsor in the beginning, because they primarily focused on international organizations. But anyway, this line 8 shows the contributions and what they received in the current year. And then in the expenses line, I'm just focusing on the grants. So the grants and similar amounts paid out. In that current year, $1,190,761 was paid out. Okay? So I'm interested in that because that amount should include any grant money that it paid out to Black Lives Matter to then grant the money to organizations in the community. So let's see. On this page, it says, okay, statement of program service accomplishments. So let's just read this. This is a more in-depth explanation of the mission of Thousand Currents. Through our grant making program, Thousand Currents partners with organizations and movements led by women, youth, and indigenous people in the global south that are creating lasting solutions to our shared global challenges. Our partners develop solutions that are innovative and impactful. They work to ensure that communities have access to healthy and locally grown food, are able to enjoy economic prosperity that generates well being for all people, and live in a safe and healthy environment that supports abundant life. Now, when you read that mission, does it correlate with the Black Lives Matter problems that I listed with white supremacy? Does it solve white supremacy, this mission? Does it solve violence against Black people? Does it provide an environment for innovative art? Now, I guess you can make a case for maybe some of it, but it does not directly correlate with the Black Lives Matter problems that the founders identified. So again, I'm not sure why they chose Thousand Currents to serve as its fiscal sponsor, because they don't seem to be aligned with the Thousand Currents mission statement. So now I went further down into the Form 990, and I'm looking for disbursements of grant money to Black Lives Matter, because that's what they do. And there are several pages of how they dispersed money to organizations and domestic governments, domestic organizations and governments. Okay. So I'm looking for Black Lives Matter. So when I found Black Lives Matter Foundation, okay, and Thousand Currents dispersed $62,000 to this organization, Black Lives Matter Foundation, for program support. The purpose of the grant or assistance was program support. I went a step further and I went to irs.gov and I put in the EIN there, 4741432254. This is not Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. This is a separate foundation in California, but it doesn't have any affiliation with the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. And there was a real big deal about this. A TV show even did, a news station even interviewed the founder of this organization, who was Robert Barnes, because Mr. Barnes was taking money intended for Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. So I have a video saved in the playlist if you want to see him explain why he took the money and what he did with the money. But nevertheless, apparently he also used Thousand Currents to serve as a fiscal sponsor, because they dispersed $62,000 to his organization for program support. What is telling here, though, on this page, on this screen, is Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation isn't listed. Again, I went through all of the disbursements. There is no reference to Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. So what happened? What happened to the money that they collected on their behalf the prior year? Because they're not even listed as recipients of the money, of any money. You can look through this whole Form 990 for 2017 for Thousand Currents, and you won't see a reference at all to the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, money that came in or money that they dispersed out to it. So, again, the same question I've been asking for a year. Where is the money? How much money did ActBlue send to Thousand Currents on behalf of the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation in 2016? It's not listed anywhere on the 2017 Form 990 information return, and it should be listed there. That's where you list transactions. That's where you list revenues and expenses inputs, outputs. There is no reference to Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation on the Form 990 2017 for 1,000 currents. And I don't understand that. So the answer to this question is to be determined. I'm convinced that we're going to have some forensic accountants from the FBI or the IRS to figure this out. I don't know. I have no idea where the money is that they generated 2013, 2014, 2015. There's just no record of the platform they used, how money came in, how money went out. I don't see anything from 2013 to 2015, but at least in 2016, they tried to look professional by creating or partnering rather with ActBlue to serve as a conduit to process his transactions, and then hiring Thousand Currents to serve as his fiscal sponsor. But we still don't know where the money is for 2016 either. So that's the second reason. The second reason why why Black Lives Matter money is hard to follow. No transparency. That's reason number 2. In the next video, we're going to go to reason number 3 of 5, and that is no accountability. No one is being held accountable for anything. It's like you just do whatever you want. You've raised millions, if not billions. Some people argue that maybe billions of dollars, and no one is accountable for telling us where the money is. This is a public entity, supposed to be a nonprofit, supposed to be open to the public domain, and no one is holding the founders or any of the leaders accountable to letting us know what is going on. That is just so bizarre to me. And I get this question a lot. In closing, I get this question a lot. Why are Black people silent? And I know they're talking about Black people as a whole because I haven't been silent in a year. But why are Black people silent? Why aren't we demanding as a Black community? Why aren't we demanding accountability? Why aren't we demanding that Patrice Concoulous tell us how she can afford mansions, working as a part-time instructor at a college? She says she's selling books. Okay. She has a deal with Warner Brothers. Okay. Wouldn't you want to defend yourself from vicious attacks, from people accusing you of using Black Lives Matter money for yourself if you were innocent? So people say, well, why don't y'all make her be accountable? Why don't you make her answer questions? And I'll tell you why. There are several reasons why, but I'll tell you a couple. Some Black people are just not concerned about Black Lives Matter. They didn't bother to investigate Black Lives Matter when they first came on the scene in 2013. They never thought about it. And let me just hold up my hand and confess, I'm one of them. I saw Black Lives Matter, but I never took the time to investigate anything they were doing because I had a funny feeling about them. I just couldn't put my hand on it. But I'm not one to try to disparage any organization. I said, if they're doing good work, good for them, right? So that was me too. I didn't investigate, and a lot of my friends said they didn't either. Okay. Another reason that Black people are silent is they don't feel like it pertains to them. I mean, a lot of Black people feel like, okay, I don't need anybody shouting on my behalf that Black Lives Matter. I know my life matters. I don't need you to say that to the world. So you go over there with that. I'm good. I have my good job. I have my good family. I have everything going for me. I'm fine. I don't need you. So they didn't bother to investigate because it's irrelevant to them. Okay. I only started investigating because when George Floyd was murdered, I did feel like I need to do something. And I knew I wasn't going to protest. I wasn't going to march. That's not my style. But I said, I can be behind the scenes, right? I can give money to help whoever wants to go out and protest. I just want to do something. I just felt like I was just restless. until I started investigating. Okay. Now, there are some people like me who are investigating, some black people like me who are investigating, but they are not saying anything. They're just doing their own investigations and sending me information. And that's fine. I appreciate your help. That's fine. But the final reason, or one of the primary reasons, probably, to explain why black people are silent is because of the insults we get. You see, we are the only race of people that I know of that will protect and defend people who harm the black community in general. We have this thing about sellouts. It doesn't matter what a person does in the black community. If you say something against them or if you turn them in, you are a sellout. You are a snitch. You are a disgrace to the black race. If you stand up and say, that's not right. We are a race of people who will protect a sexual predator in the family. You can have a little girl or a little boy going to their parents, telling them that Uncle Joe, and I'm just making up Uncle Joe's been touching me. Uncle Joe's been feeling me. Instead of the parents becoming angry with Uncle Joe, they would tell the child, don't say anything. Because if you say something, Uncle Joe's going to go to jail. Uncle Joe is going to go to jail. Do you want Uncle Joe to go to jail? Putting that burden of guilt on the freaking child. But that's who we are. Some of us. But it's pervasive throughout the black community. You don't say anything about a black person no matter what they do. So I'm going to share with you a comment that I got from a person on YouTube. I get a lot of comments. I read some of them, and some of them I don't have an opportunity to read due to time constraints. But this one stood out. This is a comment from Bernie Cohen's, okay? And it was on the video that I posted, Why is George Floyd a Martyr in the Black Community? Here's what he wrote. What difference do it make? Are you a martyr? Didn't spell it correctly. Hell no. So shut the fuck up. That is just like a nigger bitch always trying to put down a black man. Why don't you go kill yourself? Okay? So do you see why black people are silent? Who wants to be bothered with this? I don't get anything out of this. I'm not being paid. I have a full-time day job. I have a consulting business that I work in the evenings. I have a family. I have a life. But I'm doing this because I do care. I don't need anybody to give me any money. I don't need anybody to go around shouting Black Lives Matter because I know my life matters. But I'm doing this because of people who do need the money. All I care about is where is the money. I want the money to go to nonprofit organizations that are working their tails off every day, trying to help people in the black community. They deserve that money. That's all I care about. But when you get these kind of comments, and this is just one of most of the comments are positive, and I thank you for your support. But when you get this kind of stuff, you say, well, why in the world am I doing this? Why am I doing this? So this should answer the question, why are black people silent? Because they don't want to fool with foolishness like this. That's what's happening in the black community. Okay? Nevertheless, Bernie Coins, I'm going to continue to do the investigations. I'm going to continue to try to find the money. I'm going to continue to ask the question and do my research. And when I get to the point where I've done all I can do, I'm going to compile all of my research into a nice document, and I'm going to send that document with links to my research to the FBI, to the IRS, to the Congressional Black Caucus, these black politicians who are sitting up high, looking down low, claiming they care about the black community, but letting a black woman get away with millions of dollars intended for the black community. They're going to get the information as well. So I'm going to continue because I feel that it is my mission to do so on behalf of the people who may not even know that the black community have been bamboozled. They may not even know that they've had millions of dollars that should have gone to them that never reached them. That's my mission right now. I will continue to take these hits through these stupid comments to do what I need to do. And I thank you all for your support. Have a nice day.